Okay, we're going to go on a quick tour of the pottery room. First of all, during class, we want this magnet here so the door is open, but the outside handle is locked. That way we have less noise from outside and we can shut the door quickly in case of any kind of lockdown or something like that. It would be great to keep students out of our supply closet. Try to keep extra clay and stuff out of the drains. Moving on to our kiln room area. We're going to keep this door locked to our kiln area. We want to make sure that this is not there, this magnet, and students stay out of this area while I'm away or while kilns are running. We have our extruder. This extruder, the bottom comes off by turning it clockwise. There are dies in there. We use those dies to set for coils. When we want to move this thing up, the arrow is facing up. When we want to pull it down, the arrow is going back down. And then we can push the clay through. Typically, we leave a stool here. The clay will go through onto that stool. The students know how to use this, and when the coils are messed up, there's typically some dry clay in there, or the clay is too hard in general, or they just need new clay. As we progress through the room, we have a slab roller here. This slab roller is pretty self-explanatory. We have canvas that stays with the slab roller. We have a dial that sets the thickness, and the slabs are pulled through. Once we get to the wheels, students may work on the wheels. On these, we want to make sure that it's hooked on well. There's two tabs underneath, so this splash pan stays hooked on. Any water that the students use should be dumped through the lid on this can. We dump it out, we tap it out, all the tools and sponges go there. They don't really need to wash these out, and we don't want to dump these into the sink. Next, the wheels need a bat. These bats are all drilled for 10 inches on center for these bat pins. This set of wheels is electric, with the exception of this third and middle wheel, which is blown out, so it doesn't work. There are GFIs on the ceiling, which will help. So, in case if this fuse is out on the outlet, this button, you may need to push that. You also may need to reset the GFI for these 4 other wheels to work. We also want to make sure that it looks like they're actually plugged in. Next, we have our dry clay bucket. Any dry clay the students are done with that's too dry to recycle goes in here. The sign moves based on which bucket is the current dry clay. The slip for slip bowls is here. Typically, I like to put a little water in these at night just so they don't dry out and get the brushes completely stuck in them. One of these typically goes on each table with one brush in each one. We have our toolboxes. Toolboxes, one on each table. Table tent, one in each table. This will have information for students like rubrics for projects and current information for new projects. Next, moving to the wet clay bucket. If we lift this lid, this clay will get shoveled into here. So at the end of class, well, let's back up. At the beginning of class, students get clay from here. Then it all goes back into here. Anything usable back in here, never in the bucket. No. So, all the used clay back in here from today. Then we take a scoop of this. This is our slop bucket, formerly dry clay. We're going to put it in here. Usually 1 scoop per class is fine. Then we're going to close, lock, hit mix. Mix will run backwards. Now we're mixing up that slop into the drier clay. And then once it's mixed up, we want to look and see that it's churning. If it's not churning, it may need to mix longer. It might not have enough clay in it. But either way, The last class at night, we want some wet clay in here. We want to close it. We also want to dig out the front. Incidentally, after this is mixed and it looks good, it looks like clay you want to use, you close it and hit pug. Then it will reverse and pug out our usable clay. At the end of the day, we typically take a ruler. Look, there's a ruler. Take a ruler and carve out this hole right here. Then we take a cup and we stuff the cup in the end so that that doesn't dry out. We put a bag in here. Voila. Next, students may put, let's go to this slab roller. This one rolls this way with clay on it. We keep an extra piece of canvas here. Then on the way back, I like the students to put this canvas here so that when you're rolling back, we know that the canvas isn't going up on itself and going around the drum. Next, brushes for glazes are here. Typically, students have to clean the brush when they take it. We don't really care if they clean it when they put it back. You've got to kind of clean your own brush. These water containers are for water for doing any glazing. These are our main glazes here. So these glazes have a tester on top. When the glazes run out, you can put it next to the sink over there and it'll get refilled. These bags are for wrapping up student work at the end of the day. They typically sit on the end of this island. So I try to color code the glazes here just so they're easier to find. At the end of the day, we want to make sure these lids are closed. They're basically organized. Everything is facing up. Like, for example, this one's loose. We want to tighten that up so when students grab it, it doesn't open and it doesn't spill, that kind of thing. Here's our general glaze instructions. So we want all these back here at the end. Typically stools up at the end of the day. And I think that pretty much covers it. Any substitute teacher will have information in front of them, and it will be the same information that students have on their table with regard to projects. I have a basic calendar here. Otherwise, that pretty much covers it. We also have some bathroom passes and whatnot. So students that want to leave the room, show you this, you sign it, and then they have basically 7 minutes, 10 minutes-ish to go and come back. It's helpful to take attendance at the beginning and at the end of class. The light switch, incidentally, is behind this extruder, the classroom light switch. Be careful not to touch this. This bar gets kind of knurled up and can cut your finger. So the light switch is right behind it. Oh, at the end of each class with 10 minutes left, it's a good idea to hit all these fans. So as you clean up, these fans will take the dusty air out of the room. And I basically leave these on. It helps kind of drown out the noise and takes the dust out. You may want to prop the door open also during that time. But at the end of each class, definitely use that. There's dustpans over here, and typically students are told to scrape their table with a ruler right into the toolbox. The last class of the day can put chairs up. Our two computers here print to this printer. They're both set to print to there. Typically it has enough paper. If you need more paper towels, under the sink, soap above it. And that pretty much covers our kind of room tour.